Jared had always thought space travel would be lonely, cold, and full of stars he could never touch. But now, as he stepped out of the shuttle onto the strange, glowing planet of Avria, he realized he had never been more alive. The air smelled different, sweet, spicy, almost like a garden at sunrise. The sky was a swirl of violet and gold, and twin suns cast long shadows over the smooth, crystal-like buildings. He felt like he had stepped into a dream. He clutched his crate tightly. Inside were the treasures he had carried from Earth. Fresh baguettes, golden and warm, still steaming from his portable oven. To him, they were ordinary bread. To these aliens, he hoped they would be magic. The aliens were waiting for him. Tall, graceful, and glowing in colors he had no words for, they watched him with curiosity that made his stomach flutter. They had long limbs, delicate hands, and eyes that shimmered like liquid gemstones. Among them, one figure stood out. She was taller than the others, with violet skin and hair that shifted colors when she moved. Her eyes locked onto the crate in Jared's hands, widening with disbelief. You have it 13-inch? She exclaimed, pointing at the longest baguette sticking out of the crate. Jared froze. He had been prepared for curiosity, even awe, but not this. Yes, he said slowly, holding it out. It's a baguette. Her laughter rang like music. A baguette? Such a tiny thing. Yet so long? Let me taste it. She reached for it with careful, almost reverent hands. Jared felt his pulse race. He had never expected that his simple bread would become the center of attention for an entire alien culture. Lyra, he learned later that was her name, took a delicate bite. Her eyes widened even more, and a soft gasp escaped her lips. This is unlike anything we have ever had, she said, her voice trembling with excitement. It is alive? Jared blinked. Alive? He laughed nervously. It's just bread, he said, but he could see the wonder in her gaze. It was the first time anyone had looked at his baking with such awe. Word spread quickly. Soon, other Aryan women gathered around, each eager to see this human creation. Some whispered among themselves, "It is just bread. Why is it so special?" One asked. Others touched it carefully, marveling at its crisp crust and warm inside. Jared realized something amazing. His simple earth bread had captured their curiosity, their wonder, and maybe even their hearts. Despite their excitement, not everyone was convinced. A few elders approached, their expressions serious. Why should we value this human food? One asked. It cannot compare to our delicacies or our spices. It is simple, ordinary. Jared straightened, feeling a spark of determination. Bread is not just food, he said, his voice gaining strength. It carries stories. It carries care. Every loaf is made with patience and love. It is simple, yes, but it connects people. It makes them happy. It makes them share. Isn't that something worth valuing? The elders looked at him silently. He didn't know if they believed him, but he didn't care. He had come to this alien world to share a piece of Earth, and that was already a victory. Lyra leaned closer, her glowing eyes filled with curiosity and a hint of challenge. If this bread is so powerful, she said softly, can you teach us to make it? Jared smiled. It was exactly what he had hoped for. Yes, he said, I will teach you. But you have to promise to try your best and to make it with care. Her smile widened, radiant and almost mischievous. I accept the challenge, she said. Let us see if humans can teach aliens something truly extraordinary. As Jared looked around at the glowing crowd of alien faces, he realized something incredible. He was no longer just a human in a strange world. He was a bridge, a storyteller, a bringer of warmth and joy. And all of it had begun with a simple, humble baguette that night. As he unpacked more of his bread and prepared to share it with the curious Avrians, Jared felt his heart swell. He had always wanted to make a difference. He had always wanted to be remembered. And now, on this distant, beautiful planet, he felt that perhaps he already was Dot the next morning. Jared woke to the soft golden light of Avria's twin suns. The air smelled of flowers and spices, but most importantly, it carried excitement. The entire plaza outside the shuttle was alive with glowing Avrians, all waiting to taste his bread. Jared felt a mix of nerves and pride. This was no longer just about sharing food, it was about showing a piece of humanity to an entire civilization. Lyra was at the front, her eyes sparkling brighter than ever. She held a long, crusty baguette in her hands and examined it as if it were a rare jewel. I cannot wait, she said softly, almost to herself. Humans, your bread. It feels alive. Jared laughed nervously. It's just bread, he said again, though deep inside he felt a little proud. But yes, it's made carefully, with love and patience. That's what makes it special. Without hesitation, Lyra took a bite. The crowd watched silently, their glowing eyes fixed on her every movement. When she chewed, a sound of awe escaped her. This is unlike anything we've ever tasted. The crust is crisp, the inside soft. Warm, alive, she said, her voice trembling with emotion. The other Avrians gasped. Some leaned forward, almost desperate to see for themselves. Can we try? A small, teal-skinned female whispered, her hands shaking with excitement. Jared nodded and began handing out pieces. The moment the bread touched their lips, the aliens' expressions changed. Eyes widened. Smiles spread. Some even hummed softly, a sound that humans might call joy. Every bite seemed to awaken something in them, a memory of warmth, care, or happiness they had never known. Lyra's eyes met Jared's, and she laughed, pure and musical. You humans, you make something so simple. And yet it touches the soul. She said, How? How can bread do this? Jared shrugged with a grin. It's not just bread, he said. It's care. It's history. Every loaf carries the story of those who made it, and when someone eats it, they become part of that story. It connects people. The crowd murmured, fascinated. Even some of the skeptical elders looked thoughtful, their usual seriousness softened by curiosity and surprise. One elder, with deep indigo skin and 3 eyes, stepped forward. Perhaps. There is something here beyond mere flavor, she said slowly. This bread carries intention. Feeling. It is not just food, it is a gift. Jared's heart swelled. This was exactly what he had hoped for. Humans had often underestimated the power of simple acts, like baking bread, but here, on an alien world, he was proving that even small things could make a huge difference. Lyra leaned closer and whispered, her voice playful but serious at the same time. If your bread is so extraordinary, can you teach us to make it? Can we capture this magic? Jared smiled. Yes, but you must learn to be patient, to fold the dough carefully, to wait for it to rise, and to put your heart into it. Without care, it will not work. Her eyes sparkled with determination. I accept. Teach me everything human. Let me learn the magic of your world through your bread. The rest of the Avrians began to cheer softly, eager to learn. Jared realized that his mission was no longer simply delivering Earth food. He was teaching culture, patience, and connection. The bread was a bridge between humans and aliens by the end of the day. The plaza was filled with laughter, chatter, and the rich aroma of baking bread. Avrians, some skeptical, some wide-eyed with wonder, were kneading dough under Jared's guidance, their long fingers surprisingly skilled. Each loaf that rose and baked was a little miracle, a small proof that humanity's care and creativity could touch the hearts of others. Even across the galaxy, Jared looked at Lyra, who had flour on her hands and a radiant smile. For the first time in his life, he felt the true meaning of pride, not from accomplishment or recognition, but from sharing something he loved and watching it bring joy, curiosity, and connection to an entire civilization. In that moment, Jared understood something powerful. Humans were not the strongest, not the fastest, not the most advanced, but they had something unique. They had heart. They had care. And sometimes that was enough to change the world or even a planet. Days passed, and Jared's presence on Avria became more than just a curiosity. It was an event. The plaza echoed with laughter, the clatter of rolling pins, and the smell of baking bread. Avrians, who had never known such simple delights, were learning fast. But not everyone was pleased. A group of elders, draped in flowing robes of deep violet and silver, observed him from a distance. Their three eyes watched Jared carefully, skeptical and unamused. This human, he spreads wonder with bread alone, one elder muttered. But is it enough? Can such simplicity compare to traditions or centuries of culinary mastery? Jared noticed the whispers but did not falter. He had learned long ago that humans often succeeded where others doubted them, not through power or speed, but through persistence, patience, and heart. He straightened his back and continued kneading dough. Inviting anyone willing to learn, Lyra appeared beside him, carrying a perfectly baked baguette. Her colorful hair shifted from violet to gold under the sunlight. "They doubt you, Jared," she said softly, concern in her glowing eyes. "Do you think your bread is enough to win them over?" Jared smiled gently. "It doesn't matter if they believe me yet," he said. "What matters is that we try, that we share, that we show them what humans can do, not with strength or fire, but with care." Lyra nodded, her confidence growing. Together, they walked through the plaza, guiding alien hands over dough, teaching them the rhythm of kneading, the careful folding and the patience required to wait for the bread to rise. Slowly, skeptical faces began to soften, curiosity replacing doubt. But tension grew when the elders decided to formalize a challenge. "If this human wishes to prove his worth, let him compete," one said. "A contest. His bread against the best of Aryan chefs. Let us see if his human ways can truly match our traditions." Jared felt a shiver run through him. He had come to teach, to share, not to compete, but he understood. Competition was a universal test proof, not through words, but through action. He looked at Lyra, who had a mischievous smile on her face, a spark of excitement in her eyes. "We can do this," she said, "together." The contest was set in the grand hall of Aryan cuisine, a vast structure of translucent crystals that glowed with the planet's light. Levitation ovens floated in midair, and spice clouds drifted through the halls. Aryan chefs, elegant and precise, moved with the grace of dancers. Each determined to win, Jared set up his own simple station, kneading dough by hand, watching the golden strands stretch and fold. Lyra worked at his side, her hands surprisingly skillful, following his instructions carefully. Every motion, every fold, every careful press of the dough was infused with purpose. He realized that teaching her, guiding her, made him feel alive in a way he had never known. The judges arrived, their glowing eyes scanning every detail. Silence filled the hall as they tasted each creation. The Aryan chefs presented intricate works of culinary art, shimmering with exotic spices and colors. When it was Jared's turn, he presented the humble baguette, golden and steaming. The hall fell silent. The judges chewed thoughtfully. Then one of the elders spoke. This bread, it is simple, yet it carries intention. It carries care. Every bite tells a story, a history of its maker." Jared's chest swelled with pride. It was not about defeating the aliens, not about showing superiority. It was about connection, about proving that humans could touch hearts, even across galaxies, with nothing more than care, patience, and creativity. Lyra's hand found his, warm and reassuring. "See?" she whispered. "You didn't just bake bread. You baked hope." For the first time, Jared felt that perhaps humans were understood, not for their strength or weapons, but for their hearts. And that was a victory far greater than any contest. The grand hall of Aryan cuisine was buzzing with energy. Floating? Ovens glowed with warmth, and streams of fragrant spices drifted through the air. Alien chefs moved with precision, their delicate hands weaving flavors into intricate creations. Jared felt a mixture of awe and nervousness. He was a human standing among masters of culinary art, armed only with his simple earth bread. Lyra stood beside him, her hair shimmering gold and violet. "Are you ready?" she asked, her glowing eyes filled with excitement. Jared took a deep breath. "I am," Let's show them what care and heart can do. The contest began. Aryan chefs displayed their skills flawlessly, creating dazzling dishes that floated and shimmered, changing colors with each movement. The judges sampled each dish, nodding in approval, their expressions inscrutable. Jared, meanwhile, focused on his dough. He kneaded, folded, and shaped it carefully, whispering instructions to Lyra as she helped him. Every motion was deliberate, filled with care and attention. Some spectators whispered doubts. How can human bread compete with Aryan delicacies? One asked. Others watched with curiosity, their eyes widening as the sweet aroma of baked baguettes began to fill the hall. Time passed. Finally, the moment came for the judges to taste Jared's creation. The room fell silent. Jared held the warm baguette on a simple tray, its golden crust glowing under the hall's lights. He stepped forward, offering it to the judges with a respectful bow. Lyra watched him nervously, her hand hovering near his. You can do this, she whispered. It's not about skill. It's about heart. The judges took a bite. For a moment, there was silence. Jared's stomach twisted with anxiety. Then the expressions of the elders began to change. Their three eyes widened. A soft murmur spread through the hall. This bread, it is remarkable, one elder said finally. It is simple, yet every bite carries intention, warmth, and care. It connects the eater to the maker. Another elder leaned closer, tasting the bread slowly. We have tasted spices, flavors beyond imagination, yet none of it carries this feeling. It carries life itself. Jared felt a wave of relief and pride. He hadn't needed to compete with grandeur or spectacle. His bread's simplicity, combined with care, had touched something deep in their hearts. Lyra grinned and clapped softly. See, this is what I told you. Humans can teach more than techniques. They teach connection. As the judges deliberated, the other Aryan chefs approached him. Some smiled, some bowed their heads in respect. Your bread. It is unlike anything we have known, one said. You have shown us that food can be more than taste. It can be emotion, culture, and story. Jared looked around the hall, feeling a warmth that had nothing to do with the ovens. These aliens, so different from humans, had accepted him, not because he was strong, or clever, or fast, but because he had given them something with care and heart. Finally, the lead elder stood. The contest is concluded. The winner is the human. A gasp echoed through the hall. Some aliens whispered disbelief, others applauded, their glowing hands waving in celebration. Lyra hugged Jared tightly. You did it, she said, laughing. You humans, you truly are amazing. Jared smiled, his heart full. He realized that victory was not about outshining others. It was about showing who humans were. Our strength lay not only in power or knowledge, but in care, patience, and the ability to connect dots as the crowd gathered around him, eager to taste. His bread once more, Jared felt something he had never expected, belonging. On a planet so far from Earth, among beings so different from himself, he had found acceptance, respect, and even admiration. And in that moment, he understood something important. Humanity's greatest gift was not invention, nor strength, nor weapons. It was heart. It was the ability to create, to care, and to touch others in ways that transcended language, species, and even worlds. Lyra squeezed his hand gently. You didn't just bake bread, she said softly. You baked hope, Jared. And that is something no one can ever take away. For the first time in his life, Jared felt that he had truly made a difference, not with power or technology or force, but with something far more human. Love, care, and a little bit of magic in the form of a simple baguette. After the contest, Jared's life on Abria changed completely. What had begun as a simple mission to share Earth bread with aliens had grown into something extraordinary. The plaza where he had first arrived was now alive every day with glowing aliens eager to learn, laugh, and taste the bread he made. Lyra became his constant companion. She had once been just a curious alien, intrigued by a simple baguette, but Now she was his partner in teaching and exploring. Together, they worked side by side in the kitchens, her elegant fingers mirroring his movements as she kneaded dough and scored the loaves. The warmth of her presence gave Jared a sense of home. Even on a planet so far from Earth, the elders, once skeptical, began to approach him with questions and curiosity. Your bread, it is unlike anything we have experienced, one elder said, her 3 eyes softening with admiration. You humans do not rely on grand displays or exotic techniques. You succeed with care, patience, and intention. That is a lesson worth remembering, Jared bowed respectfully. Thank you, he said quietly. I only wanted to share something from my world, something that connects us. Word of his success spread beyond the city. Avrians from other regions traveled long distances to see the human who had changed the meaning of baking in their culture. He demonstrated simple techniques, shared stories of Earth, and taught. That food was more than nourishment, it was connection, history, and care. Lyra laughed one evening as they walked through the glowing gardens after a long day of teaching. You humans are extraordinary, she said. You turn the simplest things into magic. We thought we knew everything about taste and skill, but you teach us about heart. Jared smiled, feeling a warmth in his chest that went deeper than pride. It's not just me, he said. It's the people you share it with. Bread is only special when it brings joy, hope, and care to others. That's what makes it alive. Avrians began inviting him into their homes and families, sharing their music, art, and stories. In return, Jared shared Earth traditions, small celebrations, songs, even jokes that made them laugh in ways he had never imagined. Through these exchanges, humans and Avrians began to understand each other on a deeper level. One day, a young Avrian child approached him with wide, sparkling eyes. Will you teach me to make bread like yours? She asked, her voice full of hope. Jared knelt down and smiled. Of course. But remember, the secret isn't just the ingredients, it's your heart. You have to put your care into every loaf. The child beamed and ran to join the others, eager to learn. Jared watched them, realizing that he had done more than teach baking. He had created bonds, understanding, and respect. Humans were no longer strangers to this alien world. They were valued, admired, and loved. At night, after the day's lessons, Jared and Lyra sat on a balcony overlooking the glowing city. The twin moons reflected in their eyes as they shared a quiet moment. I never imagined bread could change so much, Lyra said, softly. And I never imagined it could change me. Jared took her hand gently. It's not just the bread, he said. It's the care we put into it, and the connections we make. That's what matters most. That's the human gift. For the first time, Jared felt the true meaning of pride, not from competition or recognition, but from the joy, love, and connection he had helped create. Humanity's strength was not in weapons or technology, but in creativity, patience, and heart dot, and in that moment, watching the city glow under twin moons and feeling Lyra's warmth beside him. Jared knew that he had found something far greater than success. He had found belonging, respect, and even the possibility of love, proof that the simplest things, when shared with care, could change the world. Days turned into weeks. And Jared's life on Avria had become full of warmth, laughter, and discovery. The once skeptical aliens now looked at him with admiration, and his earth bread had become more than food. It was a symbol of connection, patience, and care. Yet, amid all the success and recognition, Jared noticed something deeper growing between him and Lyra. She had been his guide, his student, and now his companion. Together, they spent hours in the glowing kitchens, kneading dough and experimenting with new flavors. Lyra's movements had become graceful and confident, matching Jared's carefully trained hands. They laughed together at mistakes, celebrated small successes, and shared quiet moments when the kitchen was empty, letting the warmth of the ovens mirror the warmth in their hearts. One evening, after a long day of teaching, Lyra led Jared to a balcony overlooking the glowing city. The twin moons reflected off the crystal buildings, casting soft light across her shimmering skin. She smiled, a gentle, radiant smile that made Jared's chest tighten. "I never thought bread could teach me so much," she said softly. "Not just about your world, but about feelings, patience, and connection." Jared looked at her, his heart beating faster. "It's not the bread alone," he said quietly. "It's what we put into it. Our care, our attention, our hearts. That's what makes it special." Lyra's eyes softened, and she reached out to touch his hand. "I think I understand now," she whispered. "You humans, you have a way of making the simplest things feel alive. You make us feel alive, too." The words hung between them like a promise. Jared felt something he had never felt before, a sense of closeness, trust, and something more profound than friendship. He realized that humans were capable of bridging gaps, not just with food or culture, but with emotion and understanding. As they walked through the city, the streets glowing softly beneath their feet, Jared noticed how the Avrians had started to blend their culture with his. Children danced to human songs, elders hummed melodies that once seemed foreign, and everyone shared in the joy of baking together. Jared felt proud, but more importantly, he felt connected. Humanity had found a place here, not through power, but through care and creativity. Lyra paused at a fountain that shimmered with bioluminescent water. "Jared," she said, her voice gentle, "do you ever miss Earth?" He nodded slowly. "Sometimes. But I realize now that home isn't just a place. It's where you belong, where you are accepted, where you can share who you are. And here I feel at home." Her smile widened, and she leaned closer. "And maybe home is not just a planet," she said softly. "Maybe it's the people we connect with, the ones we care for." Jared's heart swelled. For weeks he had been teaching them about Earth. But now he realized that Avria had been teaching him too about openness, curiosity, and the courage to connect with others. No matter how different they were, that night, they returned to the kitchens, where a new batch of dough waited. Lyra rolled up her sleeves and laughed, flour dusting her skin like stardust. "Show me again," she said. "Teach me the human way, so I never forget." Jared smiled, kneading the dough with careful hands as Lyra followed his movements. In that simple act, he saw the beauty of connection, the magic of two worlds blending through patience. Laughter and care. As the twin moons rose higher in the sky, Jared realized something profound. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't weapons, speed, or intelligence. It was love, patience, and the ability to make connections. And sometimes the simplest things like bread, laughter, and shared effort could bring two worlds together in ways no one could have imagined. Lyra leaned against him, her warmth comforting and real. "I never imagined I could feel this way," she whispered. "Thank you for everything." Jared held her hand, feeling the truth in her words. "No, Lyra. Thank you. You've shown me that connection can change everything." And in that moment, on a glowing alien world, humanity had proven once more that heart and simple acts of love could triumph across galaxies. Months passed, and Jared had become more than a human visitor. He had become a symbol of connection, care, and hope on Avria. His simple earth bread was now a bridge between worlds. And humans were no longer strangers. They were respected, admired, and celebrated every morning. The plaza where he had first arrived buzzed with life. Children ran laughing through glowing streets, carrying small loaves they had baked themselves. Avrians of all ages came to learn, to taste, and to share stories from their worlds. Jared walked among them, smiling, teaching, and laughing. Each day reminded him that the simplest things like kneading dough or sharing a meal could change hearts. Lyra had become his constant companion, confidant, and partner. They had grown close in ways neither had expected. She had learned every detail of Jared's techniques, from the perfect knead to the careful scoring of the crust. More importantly, she had learned the patience, the care, and the heart that went into each loaf. Their bond had become unspoken, a deep connection built on respect, admiration, and shared joy. One evening, under the twin moons of Avria, Lyra and Jared sat on the balcony of the plaza. The city shimmered beneath them, alive with lights and laughter. "I never thought I would feel this way," Lyra said softly, her eyes reflecting the moons. "Not just about bread, but about people, about life, about connection." Jared took her hand gently. "Humans are small in the universe, Lyra," he said, "but we have something powerful. We care, we create, we connect, and that is what makes us strong." She smiled, leaning closer. "You have changed my world, Jared, and not just with bread." The memory of their first meeting when she had exclaimed about the 13-inch baguette made them both laugh softly. It had been a moment of curiosity, surprise, and joy. Little did they know then that it would lead to something far greater: friendship, respect, and love that transcended worlds. Jared looked at the bustling plaza below. Avrians of every age were kneading, baking, and sharing with one another. Children were laughing. Elders were smiling. And even those who had doubted him now carried pieces of his teaching in their hearts. The simple act of sharing bread had become a movement, a cultural bridge that would last generations. Lyra rested her head on his shoulder. "You humans, you truly have a gift," she whispered. "Not strength, not weapons, but heart. That is why you are remembered, why you're loved." Jared smiled, feeling the truth in her words. "It's not just me," he said softly. "It's all of us who care, who try, who reach out. That is what makes a difference." As the twin moons rose higher, casting silver light over the glowing city, Jared realized something extraordinary. Humanity's greatest power was not conquest or technology, it was connection, patience, and the ability to care. And even on a distant alien world, that power could create joy, trust, and even love. In that moment, surrounded by laughter, light, and warmth, Jared knew that his journey had not just been about bread. It had been about hope, understanding, and the simple truth that humans, through kindness, creativity, and heart, could leave a lasting mark anywhere in the universe. Lyra looked at him, her eyes shining. "Do you think humans can really change worlds?" she asked. Jared squeezed her hand gently. "I know we can," he said. "One loaf at a time, one act of care at a time. Humans can change worlds." And there, on the glowing planet of Avria, humanity's story had found a new home. A story of warmth, connection, and love, proof that even the simplest things, like a humble baguette, could inspire admiration, joy. And the bonds that tie civilizations together. The crowd below cheered as another batch of bread came out of the ovens. Golden and steaming, Jared and Lyra shared a quiet smile, knowing that this was only the beginning. Together they had shown that heart and care could transcend the stars, and that sometimes the smallest gestures had the power to change everything.